Hi there, welcome back. This is my little bit of everything channel. Welcome back. Today is the sixteenth of February 2019, and what I'm going to be doing today is actually steam bending wood for the cutter sled project. And the manner in which I've chosen to do this, I don't have a steamer myself, but I'm going to use, just give me a second. I'm going to use a 4-inch galvanized pipe, which is, I believe, 24 inches long, and in 3 sections. I'm going to join 3 sections of pipe together, ventilation pipe, and I'm going to cap off one end, take the joints, and actually poke a hole in the pipes themselves in the back, and put a tea kettle and boil some water into that, steam that pipe up and the wood. Now, I believe I saw somewhere or heard that it's 15 minutes per 1 inch of thickness of wood. That's how long you leave it in the steamer for. And once you've reached this point, what I'm going to do is actually take a sheet of aspenite or chipboard, particle board, and actually draw out the circumference I want, because the cutter sled is made like this. Right? Well, I'm going to put a block of wood here, 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 and I'm going to measure on the other sled the diameter of that, and let's say it's 24 inches. I'm going to go around 20 inches. Because what happens is, when you start bending wood, it's not going to hold the true diameter. It's going to, if I put 24, it might end up 28 diameter. So if I go under by 4 inches or 2 inches, it should give me the correct diameter I want. And the runners are bolted onto the base here, and the runner board actually comes back and is bolted onto the not the frame members, but the carriage itself, and here there's another piece that needs bending, which is the step board on the side of the sled. And this actually has a small radius bend, and it's joined to the runner. That's basically how I'm going to do it. I'm going to draw out the radius on a sheet of plywood and actually clamp it to the plywood once it's been steamed. So let's get started. These you can buy at your local hardware store, and all you need to do to assemble them is to actually click it into the channel as such. It's a little tricky, but once you get it started, there you go, one section of pipe. Once I've completely assembled these 3 pipes, I'm going to join them together. Before I join this together, I'm actually going to make a cutout so I can actually poke the tea kettle spout in here, so I can get closest fit as possible to get most of the steam and the pressure from that steam into this pipe. And this length of pipe, which I should have a measuring tape on me, just a second. These pipe lengths are 24 inches, so that means I got 72 inches of pipe, which is long enough to actually steam the wood for the runners and the step size of the sled. Now, this pipe is, like I said, 4 inches in diameters. I can stick actually all the frame members, or the members I want to steam, into this pipe and just send steam into it. But the thing is, I'm not going to need them all at once. So I might do them individually. There are 4 members that have to be steamed and bent. So I might just do them one at a time, and it'll be 15 minutes each. That way, I don't have enough space on the plywood to actually do everything at once. Okay, so I'm going to get started now and cut out the hole for the tea kettle. Yeah, this is the kettle. It's just a normal kettle you plug into the wall outlet, and I'm going to attempt to get the steam from this spout into this tube of metal, and hopefully that will permit me to steam bend some wood. Now, there are all kinds of elaborate systems out there, but for now, since this might be a one-off for me, this is how I'm going to proceed with this. So, Yes, I need a workbench. I'm trying to get rid of some stuff as fast as possible so I can actually get set up to do work in a more efficient fashion. As you can see, I've traced out this cutout, and this is how I'm going to assemble it. So, here over at the sled, I'm going to measure the radius to see what kind of radius I'm looking at here. It appears to be the wood itself on a 29-inch radius. So I'm going to go and bend this piece around 26. And hopefully 26 will be once the wood has cooled down, hopefully once unclamped it'll come out to 29. I'm going to use a straight edge to actually draw out that radius. Before I start that, half of 26 is 13. Sorry for the fragments. The video gets fragmented because I'm not sure how much time is going to be used up for every single stage of the project, and really this could be a topic for a video, how to plan out a video before it happens so it's not random and it's actually educational. One should actually write down on a piece of paper the steps required for each part of the build, and pick a topic and find some informative information, some how-to, some theory behind everything that's being done. But since this is my first series or set of videos, there's a slight period of adjustment. If you're doing work for an audience, it's different than doing work in your head for yourself or for someone else. So basically what I did was I drew the radius on these pieces of rough lumber, and I'm going to cut these out in the bandsaw and screw them to the table. That way I have some surface area to actually put my clamps in, so I can clamp down my runners, my sled runners, so I can actually make the bends. So I'm going to move over to the bandsaw now and actually start doing that. But first I got to go get some eye protection because I need them. I might later on do a segment on bandsaws. I'm using a 3/8 thick blade right now, which permits me to do this radius very easily. 3/8 can do up to, I think it's 3 inches or maybe 2 inches round. I'm not sure about that anymore. I think I may later on do a segment on bandsaw blades and adjustments and requirements for every blade thickness and tooth pitch, and that's a video for later on. And also, as you can see, I built a table same height as my bandsaw to give me some room so I could work with larger pieces with this bandsaw. And I found this table to be pretty invaluable. It permits me to put a very, well, a larger lumber without having to struggle it hanging over the edge of the bandsaw table because it's so tiny. So this was a pretty good idea. Around half an hour has gone by. I just turned on the camera again, and this is where I'm at. I actually cut out the pieces in the bandsaw, and as the wood is being bent, once it's come out of the steamer, I'm going to start clamping it here as I go along. And I know you should have it on the inside, then bend it on the outer diameter circumference, but the way the runner's made on this sled, it'll only work in this fashion. So I hope it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to have to think up of something else, another means of doing this. But for now, this is what I'm going to do. As soon as the wood starts bending and I can actually push it down into these forms, these were screwed to the plywood. I'm going to actually clamp this wood together in these clamps and keep on going all the way around and let it set for a while till it actually cools down. And hopefully I will be able to get the bend out of the runners in this fashion. These are great, by the way. They work very, very well. Bessie makes them. I'm not advertising for Bessie, but these clamps work really well. They give you that much clamping power. And this is about, or is, a foot, close to a foot of clamping. And they're very sturdy. And now I'm going to continue on with cutting out my steamer. So I'll be back in a little while. As you can see, I've assembled my pipe and I've cut out the spacing for the kettle. The kettle's just going to fit over as such so I can get the steam, and you can't see that, can you? It's just going to fit into that, and I'm going to watch the steam or the water content as it gets steamed. Now I'm fastening the joints with some pop rivets, 1/8 pop rivet, so that the tube doesn't fall apart as I'm steaming the wood. And you want to make it straight as possible. You know, like lining it up, make sure it's as straight as possible. And to do so, you can use a straight edge. I just happen to have an 8-foot level that I'm going to insert into the pipe and clamp it on each side. I'm going to use that as my straight edge. Right? So in this fashion, I'll know that my pipe is straight as possible. one steam pipe. So I fit the kettle at the end of the pipe, and I came up with this design to cap it off so the spout of the tea kettle will just fit into that slot. Now I'm going to cut out the contour and these little V's, and these little V's provide relief for when I actually bend those tabs onto this piece and rivet them onto the piece to cap it off. So you got to provide for when you bend the material. And I'm going to cut that piece out now. Now, for these to be correct, they have to be perpendicular to the tangent on the circumference of the inner circle. So that way you are sure they won't fold up against one another. "90 degrees to the tangent of the circumference at the point on that circle." So 90 degrees out. When I fold these up, they won't butt up against one another. There'll be enough space for that crease to be made. And I'm going to get a pair of pliers to do this properly. So you see, they don't butt up against one another. And there's the end cap. Now all I have to do is fasten it to the end of the pipe. this should be sufficient to keep that steam in there. All I gotta do is tape it up now. You can get some metallic tape or metal tape to seal up air duct joints so they get an airtight. You want to keep the steam in there as long as possible before escaping. That way you get a better steaming job. That's going to work great.